Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Studio Fluent. I'm Jeff. Today, we begin with a feeling many English learners know very well, even if they rarely talk about it. It is a quiet feeling, a soft worry that sits inside the chest when you try to speak. You want to say something, but your voice feels smaller than usual. Your thoughts move slowly. Your mouth feels a little tight. This feeling is not dramatic or loud, but it can stop you from speaking even simple sentences. Many learners believe they are the only ones who feel this way, but almost everyone who learns a new language experiences this quiet form of anxiety. I want to share a small story that shows this clearly. A student once told me that when she speaks her native language, she feels confident and relaxed. But when she tries English, she feels as if someone has turned down the volume of her voice. She said it feels like walking into a room where the lights are too dim. She knows what she wants to say, but her words do not shine the same way. In her mind, she imagines other people watching her, judging her, waiting for her to make a mistake. Yet in reality, no one is thinking those things. The fear is coming from inside, not outside. This is emotional tension. It is the body trying to protect you from a situation that feels unfamiliar. It is not a sign of weakness or bad English. It is simply the natural reaction of a brain learning something new. When the student understood this, she felt lighter. She learned that nothing was wrong with her. She was just a human being in a new language. Understanding the feeling is the first step to speaking confidently. And once you see this clearly, a surprising truth about English fear becomes important. And that is exactly what we will explore in the next chapter. When we feel anxiety in a new language, our voice often changes before we even notice it. Many learners think this happens because their English is not good, but the real reason is much simpler and much kinder. When you speak English, your brain is working harder than usual, and it begins to watch for possible mistakes. It treats the situation as something risky, even though there is no real danger. This creates tension in the chest, in the throat, and even in the mind. The result is a softer voice, faster speech, or sometimes no speech at all. None of this means you are doing something wrong. It means your brain is trying to protect you. Imagine a learner standing in a small cafe. She knows exactly what she wants to order, and she has practiced this sentence many times at home. But when the barista looks at her and smiles, she suddenly feels pressure to speak perfectly. A simple sentence feels heavy. Her words come out quieter than she wanted, and her tongue feels slow. She worries that her accent sounds strange. In truth, the barista is just waiting patiently, but inside her mind, the fear of making a mistake feels big and real. This fear changes how her voice sounds, even though her English ability has not changed at all. This is why anxiety can make English feel more difficult than it really is. The fear you feel is not a personal failure. It is a natural reaction from a brain that wants to help you stay safe. When you understand this, the fear becomes a little smaller, and your English begins to feel more open and natural. In the next chapter, a small real-life story will show this truth even more clearly.
Anna was a beginner English learner who worked in a small office. She was kind, intelligent, and organized, but she carried a quiet fear every day. She worried that if she spoke English at work, people would judge her. Because of this, she avoided speaking whenever possible. At her desk, she stayed silent during simple conversations. In meetings, she nodded politely but never added her ideas. During lunch, she listened to her coworkers talk, wishing she could join them, but feeling unsure of every word she wanted to say. English felt like a wall between her and the people around her. One morning, something small changed. She was at her desk, typing an email, when a coworker named Daniel walked by. He was friendly and always spoke slowly with her. He stopped and asked, "How is your morning going?" Anna felt that familiar pressure rise in her chest. Her first instinct was to give a fast, quiet answer and return to her work. But Daniel waited with a calm, patient smile. For a moment, Anna felt safe enough to try. She said, "It is good. I am finishing a report." Her voice was a little soft, but her sentence was clear. Daniel nodded warmly, as if she had said something completely normal. And for her, that small moment felt surprisingly strong. Later that day, she spoke one more sentence in a meeting. Again, nothing dramatic happened. No one laughed. No one judged her. Instead, her coworkers listened, accepted her words, and continued the discussion. Anna realized that people were much kinder than she had imagined. Her English did not need to be perfect. It only needed a little courage. Her discovery is simple but powerful, and it connects to a bigger idea that every learner can use. And that is what we will explore in the next chapter. Many English learners carry a quiet belief that they must speak perfectly before they speak at all. This idea feels safe because waiting for perfection seems like the best way to avoid mistakes. But this belief creates a trap. The moment of perfect English never arrives, and the learner stays silent for months or even years. The fear of mistakes grows stronger, and speaking becomes something distant and frightening. This is the myth of perfect English, and it affects more people than you might imagine. I once knew a man who studied English alone in his room every evening. He read books, watched videos, and wrote long lists of vocabulary. His notebooks were full, and his grammar exercises were correct. But he never spoke to anyone. When he thought about joining a conversation, his stomach became tight. He imagined every possible mistake and felt embarrassed before he even opened his mouth. After many years of study, he still avoided real speaking situations. One day he told me, "I will speak when I am perfect." But the truth was simple. He already knew enough to speak, but he was waiting for a moment that would never come. There is a difference between studying English and living in English. Studying helps you learn rules, but living in English helps you grow confident. Mistakes are not signs of failure. They are signs that you are practicing, trying, and moving forward. When you speak, even with errors, your English becomes more natural and more alive. As you begin to see this more clearly, it helps to understand how the world around you shapes your confidence. And that is exactly what we will explore in the next chapter.
Your environment has a much stronger influence on your English confidence than most learners realize. The place you are in, the people around you, and even the level of noise can change how comfortable you feel when speaking. Many learners believe this change means their English ability is different from situation to situation. But the truth is simpler. Your ability stays the same. What changes is the pressure you feel. A quiet room with a kind friend may help you speak clearly, while a busy shop with strangers may make your mind freeze. This reaction is not a sign of weakness. It is a natural response to new or unpredictable environments. Imagine a learner named Leo. When he sits with his close friend at home, he speaks English calmly. He looks for simple words, he laughs at his mistakes, and he feels relaxed. But when he walks into a small shop to buy something, everything changes. The music is loud, people move quickly, and the cashier is waiting. Leo suddenly forgets the easy sentences he said an hour earlier. His mind becomes tense, and he feels embarrassed before he even speaks. He thinks, "Why can I speak at home but not here?" The answer is not that his English became worse. It is that the environment feels less safe, so his nervous system becomes more alert. When learners understand this, they stop blaming themselves. They begin to see that confidence grows faster in supportive situations. Choosing warm, patient environments gives your brain permission to relax and use the English you already know. Over time, this creates a quiet strength that follows you into more difficult places. And understanding the world around you is only one part of the journey. The next chapter looks even deeper into the voice inside your own mind. Every English learner carries an inner voice that speaks quietly in the background. Sometimes this voice is calm and supportive, but many times it becomes worried and strict. It says things like, "You will make a mistake," or "They will laugh at you," or "Your English is not good enough." These thoughts feel real because they come from inside your own mind, and they appear very quickly, often before you even open your mouth to speak. But this inner voice is not a true judge of your ability. It is simply a protective habit that tries to keep you away from uncomfortable moments. The problem is that this voice can become louder than your confidence if you never question it. I once worked with a student named Mira, who struggled with this every day. Her inner voice told her she should stay silent because mistakes were dangerous. When she wanted to speak in class, the voice said, "Don't try. You will sound strange." One day, she decided to answer a simple question anyway. Her voice was quiet, but she spoke clearly. Nothing bad happened. Her classmates listened and smiled. That night, she realized something important. The inner voice had been wrong. Over time, she started speaking more often. Each small success made the inner voice softer. Instead of warning her, it slowly began to say, "You can try. It's okay if you make a mistake. People will understand you." This change did not happen in one moment, but in many tiny moments, and each moment helped her English sound more natural. When your inner voice becomes a friend instead of an enemy, your speaking becomes lighter, and your fear becomes smaller. You begin to trust yourself, even with simple sentences. This is where real confidence begins, and in the next chapter, we will look at the turning point, how small experiences can start to change everything.
Confidence often begins with a quiet turning point, a small moment that feels almost invisible to others, but meaningful to you. It does not arrive with a big speech or a perfect conversation. It usually arrives in one simple sentence, spoken clearly at the right time. Many learners do not notice these moments because they expect confidence to look dramatic. But real confidence starts with something gentle and human. When you pay attention to these small wins, you begin to understand that your English is already stronger than you think. Imagine a learner sitting on a bus after a long day. The bus is not crowded, and the ride feels slow and ordinary. A tourist steps onto the bus, looks around, and finally asks the learner, "Does this bus go to the city center?" The learner feels a familiar pressure rise quickly. The first instinct is to stay silent or pretend not to understand. But something small inside encourages them to try. They take a breath and say, "Yes, it goes to the center. You can stay on this bus." Their voice may shake a little, but the sentence is clear. The tourist smiles with relief and says, "Thank you." That simple moment warms the learner from the inside. It is not perfect English. It is not a long conversation. But it is real communication, and it feels honest and strong. Later that evening, the learner thinks about the moment again. They realize that nothing terrible happened. There was no judgment. There was only human connection. And in that realization, something inside shifts. The learner begins to believe that they can speak English in real situations even if they are nervous. This is how confidence begins, slowly, quietly, and through everyday moments that feel safe enough to try. These small wins are powerful, and they deserve protection. In the next chapter, we will explore how to keep this new confidence growing even when fear tries to return.
After a good speaking moment, many learners feel a warm sense of progress. They think, maybe I can really do this. But often, the next day feels different. Doubt returns, quietly, almost like a shadow. A learner may speak confidently on Monday, then feel nervous again on Tuesday. This sudden change can be confusing, and many people think it means they are failing. But this is not failure at all. This is the natural shape of progress. Growth does not move in a straight line. It rises, falls, and rises again, just like learning anything new. Let's imagine a learner named Sophia. One day, she has a great experience speaking English at work. Her sentences come out clearly, and her coworker understands everything. She feels proud and surprised at how natural it feels. But the next morning, she wakes up with the same old nervous feeling in her stomach. She worries that yesterday was just luck. Later that day, when someone asks her a simple question in English, she feels unsure again. Her voice becomes soft, and she thinks, "Why am I nervous again? Did I lose my progress?" But nothing is lost. Her ability is still there. Her confidence is simply adjusting, learning, and growing through new experiences. When learners understand this, they stop expecting perfection every day. They learn to view fear as part of the process, not a sign that they are going backwards. Each time you speak, even when you feel nervous, you strengthen the part of you that wants to communicate. You teach your mind that English is a place where you can show up even when you do not feel ready. The important thing is to keep going gently, trusting that progress grows through practice, patience, and self-kindness. And as this understanding becomes stronger, something deeper begins to form, a sense of identity as an English speaker. That idea is what we will explore in the next chapter. Building an English identity is one of the most powerful steps in a learner's journey. It begins with a simple idea. You do not need perfect grammar or a huge vocabulary to call yourself an English speaker. You only need to use the language in small, real ways. Many learners think of English as something outside their daily life, like a school subject or a difficult project. But when you start to see English as part of who you are, even at a beginner level, everything changes. Your confidence grows naturally because you begin to believe that English is not something you visit. It is something you live in, one small moment at a time. I once met a learner named Kareem, who showed this very clearly. At first, he studied English only through books and apps. He saw himself as a student, not an English speaker. But slowly, he began to use English in simple, everyday situations. He greeted his neighbor with a short, "Good morning." He sent a small English message to a friend who lived abroad. He asked one question in English during a meeting at work. These moments were tiny, but they began to change how he felt. He no longer waited for a perfect level. He started to think, "I use English in my life. I speak this language." That thought shifted something deep inside him. Over time, these small actions formed a new identity. Kareem felt more comfortable making mistakes because he saw himself as someone who belongs in the English world. His sentences became smoother, not because he learned advanced grammar, but because he felt connected to the language in a natural way. When learners create this identity, they stop measuring their progress only by tests or vocabulary lists. Instead, they measure it by moments of real communication. And as this identity grows stronger, it prepares you for the final step of the journey, a gentle closing message that brings everything together.
Your English journey is not defined by perfection or speed. It is shaped by small, human moments that slowly change how you see yourself. When we began this series, we looked at the quiet feeling of anxiety that so many learners experience. We explored how the brain reacts to fear even when there is no real danger, and how this reaction can make your voice softer or your words harder to reach. As you moved through each chapter, you saw that nothing was wrong with you. You learned that fear is normal and that confidence grows step by step, not all at once. Along the way, we met learners who felt nervous at work, on a bus, or in a shop. They were ordinary people who discovered that their English ability did not disappear in difficult moments. It was simply covered by tension or self-doubt. These stories showed that a single successful sentence can create a small but powerful shift inside your mind. One clear message, one friendly reaction, or one simple conversation can change how you feel about English for the rest of the day. And sometimes those tiny moments stay with you much longer. We also talked about progress and how it moves in waves. You can speak confidently one day and feel unsure the next. This up and down pattern is not a problem. It is part of learning anything new. What matters is that you continue gently, even when you feel uncertain. With time, these moments build something deeper, a sense of identity as an English speaker. You begin to see English not as a subject you study, but as a part of your life. You greet someone, send a message, ask a question, and slowly the language becomes a natural part of who you are. As we close this journey, I want you to remember one simple truth. Your voice is growing, even on the days you cannot feel it. Confidence is built quietly through small wins, patient effort, and self-kindness. You belong in the English language, and every step you take brings you closer to the speaker you want to become. Thanks for practicing with Studio Fluent. Keep going. You're doing great. See you next time.